right. We are in the month of Cancer, which is foundation. So it's a watery month. Water marks the transition point in the zodiac from one cycle to the next, because we've gone through fire, earth, air. Then the water signs take us through a transformation before we go back to fire again. So that's where we're at right now. So that watery energy is around. So we're putting everything that we've done for the last few months into the mixing pot and seeing what transpires or comes from that in readiness for the next cycle. So we're going to talk about what foundation really means in business today. But first, let's talk about needs and the needs of your business tree, because that's what this month is all about. Cancer shows us that how important needs are, emotional needs, what is really needed in order for your business to grow as well. So we're going to talk about business needs as well as the needs of your tribe today. So just take a moment, since we're in Cancer and this is more of an intuitive, psychic month, if you like, let's just take a moment to visualize what your business tree currently looks like. This is an exercise that I do regularly whenever I need to tune into what my business needs. You can do it any time of year, but particularly in the watery months, or when you're doing any form of planning or you're not sure what step to take in your business. This is a great exercise to do. So just take a moment to close your eyes, center yourself. You can call on your business Deva if you like. And just ask to be shown your business tree, your business as a tree. If this is your first time doing this exercise, then you might get a surprise. What sort of tree is your business? So just really noticing the state of the roots, the root system of the tree, the trunk of the tree, the leaves and the branches, the canopy, and perhaps if there's any fruit on the tree or if there are any seeds around. Just being an observer. You might want to draw your tree so you remember what you're seeing right now, but when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And I'm just going to take you through this briefly, because the easiest way to decide what action to take in your business, regardless of what cycle you're in or at any stage of the year, is to look at your business tree and look at what needs attention the most. So these 4 areas, the roots, the trunk, the leaves, and the fruit, are the 4 stages of business, and they indicate to us what is needed in the business for it to grow right now, if you're in a growth phase. So firstly, the identity, the seed, the trunk. You know, there's certain strategies or focuses in that are essential if you're looking at your tree and going, okay, so my trunk really needs development. The identity of my business is underdeveloped right now. So you can look at your tree and just assess the trunk. You might have a really strong, healthy trunk. That's cool if you do. Doesn't need your attention right now. Then we look at the roots. Okay, what's the state of your root system? This is where we want to get a strong foundation, streamlining your operations, planning, and looking at your work-life balance. Are you in rhythm with the earth? This is an earthy stage. So if the roots of your tree are perhaps not deep enough, broad enough, then maybe this is where you need to pay some attention. And then we have the leaves phase. So if your canopy isn't full, if your branches are falling down, or perhaps you've got overgrowth, too many branches relative to the root system, so your tree is top heavy, then maybe you need some pruning. So there's lots of different ways that your tree can appear to you to tell you a message. So this is where revenue streams, like this is the pruning of the tree, looking at those branches, where are they reaching out to? Business relationships, selling, sales, all of that is part of the leaf stage. And finally, fruit. Perhaps you've got big shiny fruit on your tree ready for the picking and you don't need to pay attention here right now. Or perhaps you do because you need to pick the fruit. Or maybe the fruit's rotting, or maybe you have no fruit and you're wondering why. So this stage of a business, at the fruit stage, this is where you're working with your money flow, teams, so partnerships, really building teams and collaboration into your business, and evaluating the evolution of your business so it can eventually drop those seeds into the ground and start a new cycle. So this is a snapshot for you to use at any time, and I'm going to send this out as a PDF so you can pop it on your wall or refer to it any time that you want to do this exercise. So it just gives you an indication of where to focus. It's meant to go with the Sacred Business Skill Set, which explains all of these strategies in more detail, and I'll send that out too if you haven't seen it already. So that's just a little skill for you to use in future. But this is a great time for needs, tuning into needs, taking intuitive steps. Jody, tell me what it means when a new sapling with a few bare roots pops out of the top of the canopy of an existing healthy looking tree with no roots. So your tree has just sprouted a new tree? That's pretty exciting. Wow, I've seen those actually where trees are actually cut off sort of about a metre or metre and a half off the ground, so the trunk is still there, and then there's a little hollow that forms in the top of that trunk, and they plant a new tree in it. I don't know if anyone's seen that done, but it reminds me, what you've said, it reminds me of that.
This one still had its canopy and it actually popped out through the top of the leaves.
Oh, the leaves!
So the sapling grew out of popped out, like there was movement.
So what's it connected to? What are the roots of the sapling connected to?
They were just sort of sitting at the top of the canopy. So like the canopy of the tree was like that, and the roots were just sitting, just, I don't know, just like popped out. I don't know that they were connected or they weren't connected. I don't remember noticing.
What you can do, that's a really good, I'm glad you shared that, Jody, because what you can do is you can play with this and you can actually go, okay, so I want to test out this sapling. How rooted is it, or how strong is it? And you can push it. And if it falls over, then okay, you've got another piece of information. But if you push it and there's resistance, so there's obviously some rooting going on, then you can ask some different questions.
Mm-hmm.
Bill.
It could be parasitic.
Yeah.
Like holly.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or mistletoe. Australian mistletoe.
But it popped just like, here I am, out of the top of the tree, kind of like, didn't have that parasitic kind of feel about it, if that makes sense.
So you can ask it questions too, Jody. You can say, is this a temporary tree? Or what's the purpose of this tree? And as I said, you can visually play with it. So push it, look its branches, just get familiar with it a bit and see what happens.
It could be symbiotic as well. It could actually work with each other.
That's true. There could be a whole new tree developing. But eventually that tree needs to reach the ground. The roots of that sapling need to reach the ground. So this is why I'm saying explore and see what the intention is. What is it trying to tell you? Cool. Good one. Thank you for sharing that, Jody. Let's keep moving because we're going to talk about the needs of your tribe now when we move into Cancer in just a moment. But first we want to look at cycles because we've just moved into a new season. We are in winter now in the Southern Hemisphere, summer in the Northern Hemisphere. In the Southern Hemisphere in winter, this is the time where we're fertilizing the soil. So lots going on, lots of regeneration happening beneath the surface in your business right now, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. In the Northern Hemisphere, well, this is where you've got to manage the crazy growth that's going on. So this is where you're pruning the canopy so it can keep growing. Not pruning too harshly, of course, in the middle of summer, but just managing that growth. This is a great time to be making money, whereas in winter, it's a time to be managing money. So counting your pennies and going, okay, so what am I going to do with, how am I going to manage this differently for the next season to come? Jill.
I think I'm upside down.
What do you mean?
Well, this time around, my tree's actually got leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And the hollow is almost, it's like a fist size now.
Oh, so it's getting smaller, the hollow.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the trunk is thickened out. And I heart pruned my tree that represents my business in my garden over 2 weeks. It took 2 weeks to do it. And in my business, all those connections are coming. So they're actually coming to fruition. So it's almost like those leaves that are on the tree and the money's coming in with the leaves.
So this is I'm glad you mentioned that because this is where the layering happens. Because of course we have the zodiac, we have the seasons, which are location specific, but then we have another layer which is person specific. And for you, Jill, your time to shine is in winter as a soil type. So all of the creator types shine at in different seasons. So you want to capitalize on those times for your type. So this is a time when you're most active and you're most in tune with your body, and it feels really natural for you to function in that particular season. So that's what I read when I heard you say that, Jill, because that's the extra layer for you, is winter is your time to shine in business. Yep. And personally too. But yeah, you really want to be capitalizing on your creator type, your creative power in its natural season. So the natural creator types for winter are mountain, soil, and river. And in summer, ironically, snow, but the nature of snow, which is very light and gentle and fluffy and optimistic, lightning and sun. So just tuning into your own nature and knowing which times of year you want to be really putting yourself out there in the marketplace versus when you want to be relaxing and going a bit more dormant and tending to internal operations rather than putting a lot of energy out there in the marketplace. So for those of you who've had your creator constitution done, you will know a lot more about this. It will make a lot more sense. So really experiment with it throughout the year if you have that information. If you know what season really is your time to shine, just be an observer of that. Make the most of that time. Okay. So grab your pens and paper. Lots to cover today. So we're going to, so really as I've mentioned many times before, these workshops are designed to give you ideas for you to tune in to your business tree, to your creator type, and go, okay, so which aspect of this business function, so today it's foundation, is most needed in my business now? So these workshops are not intended for you to implement everything that I'm sharing. It's giving you a smorgasbord, if you like, to select, okay, so what is actually going to make the greatest impact that I need right now in my business? What does it need? Tune in. Okay, so one very important aspect, which I haven't spoken much about yet in Sacred Business, is the importance of rites of passage. Now, rites of passage, of course, most people know about rites of passage in a personal or a community context. You know, when a boy comes of age, enters manhood. When a girl starts to bleed and enters womanhood. Another rite of passage is marriage, and of course, death. There's all these turning points, endings of cycles in our lives all the time that we can acknowledge or not acknowledge. And the same occurs in business. And I found this proverb the other day, which really stuck with me. It's an African proverb that says, if we do not initiate the young, they will burn down the village to feel the heat. So just take that in for a moment and what it means to you, and apply it to your business. How could that proverb apply to your business? I'm not going to say anything because I want to hear it from you first. Does anyone want to share their thoughts on that? Jill?
When I was reading that and listening to you at the same time, it's actually not just the young, but as we transition through each area in our lives, whether, from childhood, we had this discussion about childhood into adulthood, in adulthood into marriage and collaboration, and then into menopause and maturity. If you have a look at all those transitions, there is a sense of destroying the past and moving into the next cycle, whether it's destroying how you look so you can transition into the next cycle, like Helen and I did when we shaved our heads, and people colour their hair, they change their relationships, they almost burn the shit out of whatever they had before and create this new scenario. And I feel it's not just for the young, but it's for all of us as we transition through each cycle. And then the same thing happens in your business, in my business anyway. When it needs to transform, something significant will happen in my life that will make it transform.
Mm-hmm. So it's an extension of you personally, you mean? Yeah. Cool. Any other thoughts or insights? How does this proverb apply to business?
I would think it's very much around a statement of consciousness, that we need to consciously grow and evolve our business and our lives rather than let it just be ad hoc.
Yep.
I suppose how I would see it.
Yep. Interesting. Priscilla?
I see it as probably what I did when I started business. I tried to do everything at once, and it reminds me of being a young person who was in a rush to be treated like an adult and to be treated with, adult respect, when I had actually no context truly for that respect. And so with the business, there was a lot of rushing to make things happen. And in actual fact, I had no idea what the fuck I was doing in the business. Just as I would have when I was 17 or 18, thinking I knew everything, but in actual fact really didn't know anything at all. you know, so I can see that aspect of, you know, how it applies for business is this, you know, it is a slow process of initiation. It doesn't all happen at once, because otherwise, and what happened? My business rose and fell in a 9-month period. It couldn't be sustained. There was nothing underpinning it that was going to give it any sense of ability to be able to grow roots and grow as a business in any way, because there was nothing there, because it was really very much a case of, you know, rushing everything bull at a gate, trying to make everything happen quickly. And there was nothing to underpin any of that, because there was not enough experience, there wasn't enough thought, there wasn't enough planning, everything. The whole realm was missing. There's no foundation to it. So the initiation process, when I read this proverb, is the learning curve of initiating ourselves into what we wish to be, to learn what it is that our business can be. I don't know if it made any sense, that last bit, but, you know, it fell out.
Yep. Good. Really, really insightful, all of you, because you've all touched on something different.
I'm laughing, Natalie, because Priscilla's description sounded like Jodie's tree.
Yeah.
Coming out of the top.
Yeah. Yep, funny that, hey? Well, you know, this is something for us all to reflect on, you know, and to keep in the backs of our minds, because there's lots of different dimensions and a lot of depth to this proverb. But just to add something to what you've all touched on, is, to me, when I read this, you know, in relation to young people, you know, so if a young person's growing up and they don't get acknowledged when they're at the transition from being a young person to a young adult, then it's almost like something in them surges and wants to destroy. And because that death process was not acknowledged. And so something in them also wants to get attention. You burn down the village, well, you're going to get a lot of attention. And you're going to turn up the heat and all eyes on you. So this is the nature of business too, because when we don't acknowledge the endings and the beginnings, these rites of passage that we all go through in business, there's a continuation of the old energy that is unsatisfied, unsatiated. And it can actually end up being an undercurrent of sabotage in your business. So your business will try and gain attention, gain your attention. Something's not right here when this process is ignored. And this is a subtle thing. Like this is doing business very differently, of course, to how we're traditionally taught. So just planting a seed here. But in terms of some of the rites of passage that you can look out for in a business, you know, there's when you had your first customer, when you had your first raving customer who has an amazing testimonial or success story. You know, there's when you move to a new location or you first set up your premises, physical premises. You know, there's lots of different things in those early years that you can acknowledge. And in another stage, you know, like when your business is getting more established, it's launching the website. First day of a success story. This is one that doesn't get talked about much. When you first implement a strategy or a guidance that the soul of your business has given you, you put it in, you implement it, you put it into play, and it's a success. That is huge. That's huge. And that certainly happened to me in the early years where, you know, I'm really grateful for that experience because I kept doing it. It gave me this surge of confidence and assurance that, wow, that can actually work. Your first tax return, believe it or not. You know, there's when you hire your first staff member or you first outsource and your first collaborator or business partnership. when you become a legal entity, any financial milestones that you might have in mind that you reach. And of course, if you sell your business or your business dies for whatever reason, these are all really important milestones to acknowledge, to pause. And as Gillian said, to acknowledge what needs to be destroyed or what is being destroyed from that previous cycle, what is no longer relevant. So then when you commence that next cycle, you have more energy available to you because you're not dragging on the past. Does this make sense? So it's more important, I think, than we probably realize in business. And of course, you can do rituals or ceremonies, but I highly recommend that, you do something that acknowledges certain milestones that are important to you. And particularly being witnessed by others in business or not in business. Family members is okay too, but the witnessing of these rites of passage is important too, which is why these things are normally done in ceremony. Jodie?
I personally, and for most of the people that I know, personal rites of passage haven't happened in my life and in other people's lives. And so you never ever think of a rite of passage in your business. But also I've not ever had any business experience before. It hasn't been in my family. It hasn't been in my sphere and in my environment.
Yeah.
So generally what happens is you fall into, as you know, you fall into the business, and so you are floundering and you are trying to do things in the way that you think they have to be done. So how then do people who don't have access to this kind of information that you're giving us, but how do people who want to start business, where does this come from for them? Even if they've had the personal rites of passage, do you think they're actually going to even translate it to business?
I don't know, because I pretty much just started seeing this myself over time in my own business, and how I would just, sail through all of these as though they were insignificant, or, I might say, oh, my website is launched, but I didn't do a ritual. I didn't do a ceremony. I didn't really pause and take stock of what that meant, that it was actually, I was passing through something. So I kind of have just fumbled my way through and come up with this, the importance of this in business, simply because of the principle of the death-life transition. So that the old energy is not being continued in an unnecessary way. Of course, something from the old is going to continue into the next cycle, but usually we're dragging our feet. So I don't know how to answer your question, Jodie, because I haven't heard this talked about, and I don't have personal rites of passage either.
Because my only introduction to that was through a business coach a few years back.
Right.
So when I did the high performance, whatever it was that Brendan Burchard did, I did a high performance coaching thing, and that was the first time anyone said to me, you don't actually celebrate the rites of passage or those things in each day. It's because I just go from one goal to the next goal to the next goal to the next one.
Yeah.
And it was very much like you need to stop and celebrate. And so, yeah, and that's not always easy. My experience is that, I may have the moment, but no one's around to celebrate with me. And everyone's ready like a week or three later, and it's like, well, no, it's done now. I'm on to the next thing. Like finding that time to create those ways to celebrate, I think, are quite challenging because we don't live in a society that celebrates it well.
Yeah.
Let alone knows how to.
Yeah, I agree. Yep, absolutely.
I find it really curious because I'm listening to all you ladies, and I do this with my clients anyway. So it's all about celebration as soon as you achieve something. But when I look back at my wages life, which is a long time ago, There was always celebration and ritual when you achieve things. And it's something that's actually gone by the wayside. Everybody in the office would, you know, we would break in at the end of the month or whatever and go, okay, who did this, who did that? You know, we achieved this, we did it. You know, there was this collaboration of recognition in an office, which doesn't exist anymore because no one comes out of their offices to the common room because all the desks are available to everyone all the time. So there's no need to come together, to come out of your office and come together and be recognised and things like that. And
yeah,
whereas in the past it was, you know, we all worked in offices that were closed off from everyone.
yeah. Well, especially as business owners who are, you know, operating solo, it's even more of a deficit because we don't even sit in an office with people. So there's no one even there to celebrate with, as you said, Leonie. And that's part of the reason why I want to, you know, these sacred business immersions are coming out, because this is so important. We're going to be doing rituals. We're going to be acknowledging each person because, and what rite of passage is relevant for them in their business for that season, you know. So there's witnessing of that process. Like, that's the key.
See this little device here?
Hey?
This little device,
Yep.
You can have a party with anyone, anytime. If you want to celebrate something, go live.
Mm-hmm.
There is no excuses. And somebody will jump on with you and celebrate. And if they don't do that in the moment, they'll do it later and they go, oh, that's fucking amazing. You're just wonderful.
Yeah.
But you've got to actually step up and do it in the moment.
Well,
be spontaneous.
there's also, you know, rites of passage aren't always a celebration either. You know, if there is a death or if there's been a significant financial loss, you know, they equally need to be acknowledged. And, you know, so they're a bit more tender than going live on Facebook. But I can totally see the relevance of that, you know, saying, hey, I got my first paying client. So, yeah, it's just something to be aware of. Just we're changing the way things are done. Nikki's saying that she took on her first treatment room a few months ago and briefly felt the glowing energy inside, but then moved to the next thing. Great reminder. So that's pretty much how I've operated too, Nikki. So, yeah, let's just be mindful of that, and perhaps we can support each other in this.
You know, the cool thing with that, Nikki, is Priscilla actually posts photos of her treatment room every now and then on Instagram and things like that. So maybe that's something to celebrate while it's new, you know, just posting photos of your lovely treatment room.
A great idea, Jill. Put it online. Put it on your profile. Okay, all right. Let's get cracking. I haven't even got to Cancer yet, but this is all part of it because, you know, Cancer is the family energy. It's all about community, creating a sense of security, safety, especially emotionally. And a rite of passage is an emotional upgrade more than anything. Obviously, there's an external marker usually, but the importance of doing a rite of passage is the emotional shift that is occurring. So, hence we're in the watery months of transformation at the moment. So, traditional foundation, what is the difference between natural foundation and traditional foundation? Well, traditionally, foundation, well, in general, is about people. You know, even corporations, even, you know, in mainstream business, foundation, people know that people drive a business. That's the most important factor, especially today when it comes down to, you know, having the best talent in the market. But the key with people in natural foundation is about giving without expectation. And this creates something called goodwill, which we're going to talk about today. But traditionally, things are given in business with expectation, you know, so when there's some kind of nice gesture, there's usually an undertone of, well, that's good for marketing or that's good for business. But natural foundation is a bit different because person to person, there doesn't need to be any expectation. It doesn't need to be about business. And that's the key, that it's not about business at that very personal level. There is, of course, a flow-on effect, though. So the other thing about traditional foundation, the way things are usually done, is that personal needs are overlooked. So there's actually a lack of understanding of the deeper needs of people when it comes to marketing and the creation of products and services. So things are often sold to people when for needs that actually are artificial, you know, a need that has been manufactured through marketing in the consumer's eyes. So natural foundation is very much about tuning in on a much deeper level. What is the true, genuine need of the person that we're selling to or that we're working with? Do we really know what that is? And are we servicing it? So it's a very, very personal theme this month. And I just love the idea. A great analogy in nature is, you know, how birds snuggle up together, especially like apostle birds or fairy wrens. They tend to hang around in little families and they all, you know, prune each other and clean each other and keep each other warm. You know, that kind of closeness is what we're talking about here, because when you are close to someone, you're more able to serve it, like really meet their needs because you understand them. But if we create distance in business and we don't get it, we don't understand the needs, therefore we're missing the mark when we're selling our products and services. So creating a sense of business family is what this is about, just like a little family of birds. And what does this mean? Well, do you know how the needs of your tribe have changed? So since Cancer time last year, when we were doing foundation a year ago, what's changed with your people? Do you know the before and after? This is the time to tune in again and go, okay, I need to update my approach here because my tribe's needs have shifted. Does your business provide a sense of inclusion, of family? Is there that closeness that I was talking about? You know, do you facilitate that in your business, or do you create distance and separation? And how do you acknowledge your supporters? So the people who support your business, staff, customers, colleagues, all three are important, equally important. How do you acknowledge them for the support that they give you? So first one is, are you catering to your tribe's needs and wants? So let's talk about needs for a moment. Let's really think about how you're updating your understanding of your tribe's needs this year. So there's what your tribe wants, what they think they want. But then on the other side is what they need, what they actually need. And usually people are disconnected from what they actually need. Because usually if they knew what they need, they would have given it to themselves by now. So our job in business is to bridge the gap, to bridge the understanding of their own understanding of what they want with what your understanding is of what they actually need. This is all comes down to how you communicate and do your marketing. So it's educational marketing. You're educating your tribe about what they really need by bridging from what they want to what they need. So you're not cutting out one or the other. You're walking them along the bridge from what they want to what they need. So you must understand both. So here's some examples. So typical, make more money, that's what I want. Well, what do you actually need? Well, what you actually need is to reduce your expenses. So you may know that, about your tribe. That's just a very basic example. Another one, eat healthier food. Oh, that's what I want. That's what I think that's what I think I need. But what they actually need is to eat less food. It's not what they're eating, it's how much food they're eating. Relationships. I want to get back with my ex is a very typical one. But what they actually need is to heal their heartbreak. And when they do, they probably won't get back with their ex or won't want to. So you can see the psychology of what is going on here between wants and needs. This is so critical. This is the basis of all your marketing. If you don't get this about your tribe, then you're missing out. You're not reaching a true need. You're not speaking to them. If you're missing one or the other, want or need, you're not walking that bridge with them. They're not with you. My favorite one, which is relevant to my business, is people often come to me and think, oh, I need to do more marketing. I need more marketing strategy. I've got to post on social media more. I've got to get out there more. I need to be more visible, do more Facebook Lives, or I need to I need a new marketing platform. I need to be up with the latest strategies and tech. I just simplify it all. And usually it's, well, if you just embody your creator type, it makes you magnetic. You don't have to do anywhere near as much activity. That's not something that they would have thought of. Therefore, a lot of my marketing is based around bridging that gap. I have to speak to where they're at for what they think that they want. Oh, I've got to do more marketing. So I step them one step at a time to an alternative approach. But I would lose them if I just showed up and started talking about the creator types. Embody creator types makes you magnetic. Don't have to do as much marketing. There's a whole process of education that goes in there in between. Very important. So you are leading them from one side to the other. Any questions or examples on this? I want to know if this is something you can relate to or if you're already doing this. What's some examples that you have?
I had a phone call today from a lady and she said, why do you want to make this booking? I always like to know beforehand. She goes, I don't know. I was referred and I don't know why I'm coming to you. She said, I'm in the worst place I've ever been. I've done everything. And I said to her, yeah, I normally get the people that are face planting into the ground and their shit is so bad. And she just laughed because I'm using my creator type language, and she just laughed so hard. She goes, oh, you're the one that I need to come and see. I have no idea why, but you're the one.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, what is it you want? She says, I want to be happy. And I went, okay, let's transform your shit and make it worthwhile.
Yep.
Because this is what you've taught us over the last few weeks, a few months, is to use the language. And she went, yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said to her, I said, oh, book session. She said, how much is it? And I said, paid from the heart. And she goes, what?
Mm.
And I said, well, if you're going to transform, you might as well transform.
On all levels.
Yeah. But in the past, I would have just gone into this whole process of, oh, well, you need to change stuff. You need to understand, blah, 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 blah. Fill in all the gaps and all that type of thing. And I just went, no, just use the language and
Brilliant.
Don't know anything else.
Brilliant. So you've presented the solution. So you've bridged the gap by basically speaking from your creator type.
Yeah.
language of your creator type, which is completely tangible. People understand it immediately. They don't have to think. You connect them to themselves and their true need. Love it.
And the shit was her language anyway, so
Yeah,
that was easy.
that's brilliant. Great example. Nikki's saying here, okay, I'm thinking that for my biz, okay, don't have time, need to slow down and pause for your business. Yeah, so that's the need to slow down and pause, but it's not what they would automatically think is the need. So they might go, I want beauty products or I want a facial, but really, you know, the need is deeper than that, and it's something, perhaps an alternative to buying a product or having a facial. Hence your nurture circles, Nikki, being very much at the core of what you offer. Cool. All right. So any other questions on this? It's pretty straightforward, but it's implementing it is a different thing because you've got to make it simple. Super, super simple. But Jill just gave a great example of that. Use the language, use tangible language that people can relate to. Okay. Let's move on. Appreciation. How do you show your appreciation to your tribe, your staff, your customers, and your colleagues? Well, now this kind of looks like a tree, but I was trying to do a river, so hey, it could be both, either, whatever. But when we're talking about appreciation, I'm going to put a slightly different spin on the obvious here, because I'm going to talk about revenue streams, and that's what this diagram is. So this is something I've done for the last few years when I'm assessing my business, where the money's flowing, what I need to do in terms of new services, old services, and what I'm giving in the marketplace. So revenue streams, one for each stream. This is where your money's coming from, different types of income that you currently have in your business. So I highly recommend drawing this diagram because you can actually make each stream reflective of how much money comes from each type of revenue. So for the most of your money, if it comes from coaching, make that stream the biggest. So
What's AdSense?
AdSense, Google AdSense. So putting ads on a website. You know, they're just different types of revenue here, just as examples. And, you know, you might, like, there's plenty of others that you could have, obviously, but if you're in a service-based business, then usually comes from coaching, private coaching or group coaching. You might run events, retreats, or you might be selling books. You might have speaking gigs. So draw your river of money flow, and how big are those streams? And I'll show you why that's important in a moment in relation to appreciation. So if your river down the center here is only being fed by one stream, well, guess what? It's not going to be a very fast flowing river, is it? Unless that stream is massive, in which case it becomes part of the river anyway. So, you know, you've got all of these micro streams feeding in to the main river of money flow in your business. That's the ideal. You want to have multiple revenue streams. Why? Because in the center, i.e. the part that's actually being fed by all these streams, is where you can offer your community service. So this is a particular way of appreciating your tribe. What is your community service? Community service in this context I'm defining as, you know, when you're actually giving something to your tribe without any expectation of return. So this is a fine line, right, when it comes to marketing, because some people can say, well, I do interviews every week and publish them on my website, or I do regular blogging every single day and that's my community service. Well, fair enough. If it's not directly in a direct way yielding sales, or it's not for the direct purpose of getting sales, making money. It's actually a free-flowing energy to it when you're in community service. So when I do the Facebook Lives, the Facebook show every week, that's like a free-flowing service to me. I don't see that as marketing. It's just something that I do, something that I want to give to my tribe, and I want to be doing something that's free out there, that's free-flowing, that's not attached to money in any way. Of course, it puts me out there in the marketplace and people engage with me, and that may lead to sales, but it's the furthest thing from my mind, and that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I always want to have some aspect of my business that is free-flowing giving. Does that make sense? Can you feel the difference? This is not a strategy. It's not linked to, it's not part of a sales funnel. It's actually nurturing the tribe.
That's what I did with the psychosomatic group with the Facebook Lives. I just wanted to share information.
Yep. Great. Yes, you did. And that was really clear, Jill, when you did that it was just something that you were doing. You were just giving, you were offering something to the tribe and engaging with them. Giving something of what you have. So your community service. So another example I was at Grilled today. What a surprise. Grilled is fast food, healthy burgers here in Australia. And what they do is whenever you buy a burger, they give you a little token, which you then put in one of 3 containers, and each container goes to a local community group, and they donate money based on how many tokens are in each container. So the public is choosing where they put their money, their token, and that's translated into money. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. It's not something that has to be done, and it's not linked directly to revenue, but it's just we want to give something back to the community. So what is it in your business that you're giving back? Priscilla?
Yeah. I do it with my
just
moon
gone.
readings.
Nat Lagani's just gone.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, Priscilla?
Sorry.
Yeah, and I just I do the moon readings every new moon and full moon, and for me it's an opportunity to share the messages that come through with the card reading, and a little bit like you were saying, it does actually give me a bit of a public profile, but it's never drawn revenue, which I love on some levels, and I nearly monetized it with ads, but then I thought, no, I still don't want to do that either. That doesn't feel right, so I've left it.
Yeah, brilliant. And I saw another example of this the other day where a psychic that I know of in Australia, she just does random free readings where she draws a card for people on Facebook Live. And she does 10 cards, 10 people's readings over the space of an hour. And, she's not direct selling from that. She's just offering something to her tribe. So, and, I will say that it's the energy behind what people do in this regard, more so than what they're doing, that matters. That makes it community service. It's the not expecting any return, that energy that comes through. And that's what is nurturing of the tribe. That's what really is a form of showing your appreciation. So you're doing it out of love. And you're doing it on a consistent basis. It's like if you were doing community service in your local town, you do it regularly, you'd volunteer regularly. This is not a one-off thing, because nurturing doesn't happen just once. It has to be a repetitive thing. It's like, you don't give your child a hug just in the mornings. You give your child a hug several times a day. It's the reinforcement of that love and appreciation that matters. So what is your free-flowing service? What is your community service? That's what I would ask, and it has to feel like community service. Nikki, I want to offer a monthly community nurture circle for free. And I also have felt drawn to gift product packs to local women going through cancer treatment. This is because a number of my customers have cancer and shared their stories. Beautiful. You know, there's lots of things you could do with that, Nikki. I would, you know, just because I've worked with you and I know what your intention is with the nurture circles, I would say to really solidify the paid nurture circles, and then perhaps you might offer a free spot each month to a cancer patient or someone you know, one of your customers you know that has cancer. You could do something like that. Weave that in somehow. But certainly because the nurture circles are so new, I would solidify them as a paid offering first. See if how that feels anyway. Cool. Any other questions or urges that you're feeling as I'm talking about this? Jill?
Oh, sorry. Curiously, as you were talking to Nikki then, you know, starting with these death talks, it's pay from the heart. But as I was listening to you, I was thinking about doing it for free originally. And then I went, oh, it doesn't actually feel right. And then somebody said to me, oh, you can't talk about death and ask people to pay. And I'm going, why not? Why not? And it is pay from the heart. So everybody just pays, you know, however they feel. But it was just curious that that old paradigm of, oh, you're in the service industry and you should be giving things for free, and death is not something that you should be asking people to pay for.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's interesting, isn't it? Well, yeah, I'm not sure what to say about that other than I would say, you know, because your business is really based on pay from the heart now, isn't it? Pretty much all your services.
Yeah, pretty. Personal services, so business services aren't.
Yeah. So, you know, that is a form of community service in itself, because you're opening up access to people who can't pay perhaps your full rate. You know, so you could, you know, that's sort of blurring the lines a little bit. But the most important thing I was sort of getting at with Nikki is, you know, you really want to look at this as a river. So the community service sits in the center, in the river itself. So the river is fed by the streams of revenue, the streams of income. If there aren't enough streams yet, then the river's going to be very small. And so what you offer in terms of your community service is going to be a reflection of how much energy is in the river, how much money flow you got coming in. So that's why I was saying, Nikki, you know, before you go there with offering something for free, you want to make sure those streams are strong. So they're relative. Whatever you're offering is relative to the money that is coming in to feed the river. You don't want this to go out of balance. Just using that as an example, what you were saying, Nikki. Cool. All right. Moving on. What's the time? Oh, we're 7 o'clock already. My God. How do you create goodwill with your tribe? So we're talking about all these soft qualities. You know, these aren't hard skills that we're learning today, mostly. They're soft skills. That's what cancer is all about, but very important skills. Soft skills and hard skills are essential in business. So goodwill. Does anyone know what goodwill is? What would you say goodwill is in business? Any ideas? Anyone heard the term used in a business?
Yeah. I see goodwill as where you have provided such a beautiful service for each of your clients, or whatever it is that your clients are coming to you for, that they now naturally come back to you without any pressure to come back to you. It's a desire to come and continue working with you, as well as sharing what you offer to other people who may benefit from what you have, what you're working with. That's how I see goodwill.
Good. Yep. So a goodwill, and this is actually, it's an accounting term, but it stems from this, from the quality or the principle of goodwill, which is that it's an intangible asset. So customer loyalty, like you just said, Priscilla, people wanting to come back to you, that is an intangible asset. It is absolutely an asset, but it can't be quantified, really. Having a good brand reputation, your reputation of it as a business, your reliability, your quality of service, all of that.
Referrals.
Yep, referrals too. Absolutely.
Shows up your goodwill.
Yeah, well, if you've got loyal customers, then they're more likely to refer to you. So that's all goes in the bag with loyalty, customer loyalty, very important. Brand recognition as well. You know, how recognizable is your brand? How well known is it in the marketplace? That's an intangible asset. So goodwill is something that we really want to consciously foster as business owners. So we can create this in many ways, but it's the subtle things that matter. So subtle things like, you know, if a client asks you for a refund when technically you shouldn't give it to them, that you give it to them anyway. That's a great example of just fostering goodwill, a good feeling with your tribe. So, you know, bending the rules, so to speak, where possible. Being human, you know, not being business-like all the time, but being human and treating people like, you know, they have real issues. And if they're late with payments and things like that, how are you handling that? So customer care is another one. How do you care for your customers? Like, what's your level of customer service? And, you know, a very simple but very impactful thing is how you respond to emails. You know, do you really take care and attention when you respond to the people who write to you? Some people in business that, like, you know, their assistant responds to their customers, or their, you know, they write one-liner responses and things like that. Even though it takes me a lot of time and, you know, I'm slower on email responses because of it, I really put a lot of time into responding to the people who write to me, whether they're customers or prospective customers or what. So all of that, yeah.
Changing appointments. I found it fosters goodwill, because whenever a client rings me and says, "Oh, can we change that appointment?" I go, "Look, the universe has provided. It always happens when I need time or I've got something else on." So for me, I will always change an appointment for a client, because I know shit happens.
Yep. Yep.
And normally it works in my favour.
Great. There you go. Bending the rules. You know, rather than being really strict with a 24-hour cancellation and going, well, I'm charging you full price for that. That might be your policy. And that's for people who abuse your time or, you know, have repetitive behaviours. But yeah, like you say, Jill, just being human about it. Nikki, I was going to mention clients who are late for treatments. How does this work? That's a great one. So if they're late for treatments, are they doing it repetitively? If they are, then yes, you do need to enforce a policy on that, is my take. Jill, you were going to say something.
20 years in practice, I cut their time.
Mm-hmm.
I still see them, but I always finish when their time is finished.
Yep.
No matter when they turn up.
Yep. And I think that's very fair too, because unless there's extenuating circumstances and it's a one-off, then practically that's what you have to do. to keep your business going. You know, you can't put all your other clients out just because one person was late, no matter what their excuse is. So there's a practical consideration there too. But, you know, people understand that generally as well. So, you know, the goodwill goes both sides.
And it's amazing with repetitive people, they will keep pushing the boundary until, you know, you either stop booking them or you're just so wasted from the whole experience that you just give up your whole business. Yeah. I've had that happen.
Yeah.
Because the practitioner just didn't have any boundaries for herself.
Yeah. There you go, Nikki. Boundaries, an act of self-care. One of your values. Okay, so when it comes to nurturing your supporters, this is all about creating goodwill, but you must know who are your supporters. Who are the colleagues in your industry that support your work, that align with your work, that send you referrals potentially or talk about you to their clients? Who are the customers that come back repeatedly or refer people to you? You know, how they support people who share your stuff? They're all supporting your business. So name them. Name them. So this is where it's really good to, if you were way back in Libra when we did this network diagram, the concentric circles with your business in the center, and each concentric circle, you put the names of people who are closely aligned with your business, radiating outwards. That's your network. So who out of that network do you want to nurture? And there's lots of ways you can do that. So you could acknowledge behaviors or rites of passage, like we were talking before. You can actually celebrate the rites of passage for them or with them. You can give gifts, obviously. You can send love notes of acknowledgement. You can provide them with an opportunity. Share a referral. Stay in contact with them. You know, one very basic way to foster goodwill, and it's something that I do, is I stay in contact with my regular clients. You know, I just check in every now and then. How are you going? What's new? Celebrate a rite of passage, as I said. Share inside information. So this is a good one. You know, people know that they're special when you're giving them something that you don't give other people. So inside information about your business or what's coming is an example of that. Jill, you were going to say something?
I do something cheeky.
Yeah.
In my groups. People who stay connected with me, I'll do two things. People who share my stuff, I will actually say thank you directly to them for posting or sharing or whatever.
Yep.
But I do something else that's kind of cheeky, that to connect in with my clients. So I might post something and I'll ask how you're doing, and I will actually tag certain people.
Yep.
Which somebody came back and said, oh, how come they get tagged? And I said, oh, well, they're all active clients of mine.
Yep.
It's a bit of a cheeky thing to do, but they go, oh, they do work with you. And I go, yeah. And this person's known me for 20 years and has never actually come to me ever, has spent thousands of dollars with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And got no results, but loves to come and have coffee with me.
Yeah.
For the freebies.
Interesting, isn't it? Yeah, we've all known one of those, that's for sure.
So it's almost like every now and then I get a little cheeky and go, well, fuck you, and I'm just going to be nice to the ones that are nice.
Yeah.
To me.
Yep. I think we can all relate to that one. For sure. That's good. So how are you nurturing your supporters? Really tune into that this month. Who are they? Name them. It's really important to name them. Okay, so steps. Recapping all of what we've covered today. The first thing, needs. What are the current needs? Current needs and wants of your tribe. This is where You're reflecting on the feedback you acquired in Gemini. You're synthesizing all of that this month and going, okay, so what is this saying about my tribe's needs? Bridge. How are you going to bridge the gap between their needs and wants? What's your service? What are you giving freely to support your community? And how will you show goodwill to your customers, your supporters? So all of this in the mix makes for a very loved up month, really, doesn't it? That's what Cancer's about.
Since can you put that back up again, please? I've got a curly question that I would like some input from.
Go for it.
I think I've discussed this with you. I was talking to someone the other day and they said, well, what's the biggest challenge in your business? And they weren't asking out of the kindness of their heart, by the way.
They were fishing.
And I said, well, in my business, I engender ownership for change. So I don't change people. I don't heal them. I show them some tools. I teach them how to use them and I coach them in using them long term. But they own their change.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to going, oh, you should go to Jill, doesn't happen very often because I didn't do the work.
Mm-hmm.
So referrals can be really challenging. So I'm actually doing myself out of business. This is poor business model. How can I change this business model?
Well, I'm not understanding what the perception is. So you're not managing their perceptions about the value that you provide. Is that what you're saying? Like, what's the breakdown? What's the breakdown in their understanding of the value that you provide versus their ownership of the change?
I can't even answer that question.
Can I ask a question, Jill? Are you, just so I can paraphrase what you said, and then maybe my perception of what you said might give some clarity. You're sometimes when you get a referral and someone says, oh my God, Jill was so amazing, you've got to go to see her. And because you engender ownership and personal empowerment of the changes, people come to you who have been referred who actually really don't want to be owning their changes. They want someone else to do the work for them, which is where you said, of course, you don't. You just give them the tools and the coaching to help them do it for themselves. And as a result, some of the are dropping away. Have I missed the point here? Because that's kind of what I heard.
I think she's saying the opposite, aren't you, Jill? The opposite, as in because they own the change, they think they've done all the work and Gillian hasn't done the work, therefore they don't refer. Yeah. Is that right, Jill? Yep. So the main question I would be asking is, how can you still translate or communicate or demonstrate the value that you're providing? The role you're playing in their transformation. Because what you're saying is that you're like, as opposed to many therapists and coaches and healers who create dependency because they make sure that their clients actually know that they're the ones who are facilitating the change and, you know, can't be done without them, their influence. This is really common, right? So you're doing the opposite of that. But there's some breakdown. There's something in you that needs to be looked at. Yeah.
And, you know, and I find that it may be that I don't have a title. And so they can't go, well, she does this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they go to their such and such or da 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 da. I don't have a title.
Don't you have a title? Aren't you an identity specialist?
Sometimes.
Because it's all over your website what you are. So what do you mean you don't have a title? You don't spit. There you go. Bank. There's your answer, Jill. You don't own it.
Cool.
Bingo. So it's not a breakdown in your branding or your communication. It's actually your own sense of value and ownership. Interestingly, ownership of your value. So they're taking all of the ownership.
That's right. And I just needed to hear it. Like, this is why I love these groups, and this is why it's so important, I think, that everybody belongs to something like this, because you hear your own voice for so long, and if you don't get a perspective from someone else, you can just stay in that whirlpool of nothingness, the morass of nothingness.
Yep. Well, Nikki's saying, I can relate to this, Jill. I'm a multi-passionate and not an expert. I have customers feeling my intention and energy and love how they feel afterwards, but they don't refer. Yeah, I actually, having worked with you, Nikki, it's a similar thing with you. It's like, it's a sense of self-value. How much do you value what you offer? So they then reflect that to you. It's not about having a title or not. It's actually about how you feel about the value you provide.
Is Nikki soil?
No, Nikki's a tree. Haha. Nikki's a tree. Yeah. Priscilla, I don't get many referrals either. I think it's a different thing with you, Priscilla. Whether we want to go into that now, I think for you it actually is the articulation of what you do. Whereas I don't feel that with Nikki or Gillian. So yeah, different stuff going on there. There you go, you just said it. I also find that most people don't really understand what I offer. Oh, okay, radio. See, she already knows what's going on. You don't need me. That's cool. Yeah, Nikki's a tree whirlwind. So the thing about whirlwinds is they tend to get stuck in the head and they go into self-doubt and they go round and round and round and round and round. What do I do? What do I offer? Is this, So that's what can happen with the whirlwind. Because I don't think it's your tree creating that, Nikki.
Can I ask Jodie something?
Yeah.
Did you leave your voice in Europe?
Yeah, Jodie, why? You're never this quiet.
Is it in a time warp?
Yep, she's saying yep.
Yeah, actually, I think I am. I'm really tired at the moment. My sleep has been a little bit lacking over the last week. It's still been catching up, and I've been sleeping in the day to try and get through the day. And so with the full moon and everything else, it's just sleep deprivation more than anything, I think, rather than jet lag. But, whatever you want to call it, I'm still trying to get there.
Your voice has changed, Jodie.
Oh, really?
You've changed since you've been in Europe. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have. I know I have.
Whoa, you sound so different. I'm glad you made her talk, Jill.
Your pitch has dropped so much.
Just going to say there's a
vocal
depth.
tension is gone.
Whoa.
There's a serious depth there.
The wise woman is in the room.
Ooh.
Well, I guess that makes sense based on all of the things that I experienced, the things that I did, the insights and stuff that came up for me. And it was about feeling like I was going deeper and deeper into the ancestral stuff and just understanding my work.
You've definitely gone deeper. Your voice is broken.
I've come of age, have I?
You've gone through a rite of passage, Jodie. Oh, I love it.
So I actually thought that before at some point, and I can't remember what screen it was on that you were talking
Ritual.
about. And it was like when you said that there are big events that happen in your life, and this has been one of them. But yeah, it's still incomplete.
Yeah. Haven't quite landed back.
No.
Yeah, I get it.
Actually, she's landed forward. She hasn't landed back.
Yeah, landed forward. Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. I feel like I'm just floundering still, like not really sure of anything again.
Yeah.
Which is like when that tree popped up out of the middle, I thought, oh fuck, like bloody something else new.
Oh, it's just the beginning, Jodie.
It's like I feel like I don't even have a handle on what I was already, a full handle on what I was already doing, and now it's gone and bloody changed again, and it's all like it's sprouted anew.
Yeah.
New growth here and there, and
I love your language, Jodie. Floundering in your lake.
Well,
No, floundering in your lake.
Sprouting. I actually wrote here what is my language, and it floating, flood, breaking the boundaries.
Yeah.
What is my language? But I just wrote before there I have to be a whirlwind somewhere about that whole self-doubt and
going around in circles.
Yeah,
maybe
a whirlwind on top of a lake. Imagine those two together.
Oh yeah, like a helicopter on top of a lake. Oh my god.
Water spout.
Yeah, water spout. That's right. All right, we got to keep going, ladies, because I don't want to keep you too much into dinner time. So let's put it all together. Needs, community service, goodwill. That's really what creates a sense of business family. So that ties it all together. So I'm going to give you an example now, a very brief example, because it does relate to this month's theme of foundation, which is to do with my coaching services and the restructure that I've just gone through. So, I review my services once a year around this time based on how the needs of my tribe have changed. So what I did was I synthesized all of the testimonials that I've received, particularly this year, like recent ones. And I went, okay, what's the running theme here? Like, what do people say most often when they work with me? And there were two things. One is that people tend to say, and I've paraphrased this because it's a combination of lots of different ones, that they've made more progress working with me than any other more expensive business training or coaching that they've invested with. So that's a really common one. The other one is you've saved me so much time by cutting through the noise and guiding me straight to what works for me. So the key being there is that my coaching is highly personalized, highly tailored. I don't do out of the box business solutions for people. Hence the creator type being at the core of what I suggest people do. So I've restructured my coaching services to being a one-off 2-hour session or a monthly coaching program, which is what I call tree support. So this is all based on needs as well. The feedback I was getting was that I get a lot of people who come to me and basically they just need a plan. They need someone to look at the whole landscape of their business, what all their social media accounts are, how many followers they have, their websites, what business tools that they're using in the back end, taking all of that into account and going, okay, so here's a tailored strategy for that assessment. So I actually do a full landscape assessment of their business, all the collateral that they have, everything, all their operations, all of it. And then come up with a 12-cycle plan with all their milestones for the year and also a seasonal plan for the 3 months ahead. So that's something that I was getting constant feedback. This is what people wanted, but I didn't offer that service. I didn't have a one-off planning service. So here it is. And then the tree support program. That's something different again, which I was sort of not expecting. It eventuated that over the last 4 years of working with people in their businesses, I've realized how much of my psychic energy goes into supporting each person. So I am now cutting down my client load, and I'm only seeing a maximum of 4 private clients at once, 2 to 4, depending on what else I have going on. And I'm able to do that because I want to put a lot of energy into the immersions and the community in general, the Business by Nature group, the memberships, all of that. So my private clients are going to become more exclusive because I want to invest that energy in between sessions into my clients' businesses. So I'm basically their support. I'm walking hand in hand with them as a co-custodian of their business while we're working together. So that's why I've increased my rates so that I can actually expend that energy for each client. This has also come, talking about needs, from my own need. This is what I want from a coach, a business coach, and it's really hard to find. I don't want a business coach who has a shitload of clients and I'm just one of the numbers and I only get their attention for that hour. I want someone who's immersed in my business to think about my business in between sessions, to be psychically connected to the soul of my business so that whatever they suggest, it is completely in tune with where my business is at. Something I've found one coach who's pretty close to that. So I'm offering something that I need and want to myself and couldn't find, which is what I suggest to my clients all the time. Give people what you want that you cannot find in the marketplace. Jill.
It's interesting that to see this written out, because this is what I do all the time. This is my clients. So they have access to me between sessions. And my sessions are never the same. Everyone is different. And you're just articulating exactly what happens in my business all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just can't do the same thing. Each individual is different. So how can you do the same thing with that person?
Yeah.
I just don't understand it. But seeing this in that format gives me a better understanding how I can manage my clients that are online.
Good.
My face-to-face ones, they're easy, you know. It's the online ones are harder to manage than the face-to-face ones, because the face-to-face ones actually live in the same time as me.
Yep.
Whereas my online clients don't, and they take more energetically outside of my work hours.
Interesting. Yeah, okay.
Because, you know, the time zones are different, so I have to change how I actually work with them. So if I've got someone in Morocco, they're getting up at 6 a.m. in the morning, and I'm at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but I've got to take into account that they're at 6 a.m. in their morning while I'm working with them. So they're not as fast, they're not as energetic, and I've got to slow down.
Yep.
So because it's mostly body engagement, so that's emotional and body engagement.
Yeah.
So this has given me a really good way to dig my teeth into something, because it was a question I was going to ask.
Good. Well, I must be tuning into your needs then, Jill. There you go. Yeah, so what just to reiterate, something, and this is probably relevant for a lot of people, what I didn't realize is how much energy I give to my clients outside sessions. I'm thinking of strategies for them. I'm tuning often into their social media accounts. And what I was finding, which was really upsetting me and causing me strain and stress, was that because I had so many clients, I couldn't give what I wanted to each one. I couldn't give enough to each one. So I'm just shrinking it down, getting more realistic about what's required and giving them more care. So the ones that I do have receive more care. And I know there's plenty of other coaches out there who work totally differently, like they really do work on a volume scale, and that's cool. It's just not how I function. And interestingly, it's often why when people send me emails, clients send me emails, or they ask me in person about something about their business. Like we might be out of session talking about something else and they'll say, hey, what about this? It actually causes me strain because I actually need to tune in to that person's business, really focus to give them my full attention and an answer that is going to serve them. So when I'm caught off guard and I'm not in the zone, it doesn't work for me and I won't give the best response. So yeah, that's just something I've noticed over time. So hopefully this helps you guys too. For those of you listening as well, only for the rest of this month of July, the month coming in July, and for members of Business by Nature only, I'm offering my old price of $300 US. So that's available for those who want to jump on coaching for the final time at that price, and also final time with unlimited numbers. Well, unlimited. Usually I don't reach an unlimited amount of clients for coaching. So, but I'm going to be very much scaling back after July. And if you are interested, you can book a business triage session with me. This is a 20-minute chat where we actually look at your business, where it's at, what stage of growth it's at, and assess what you might need in terms of coaching, whether it's with me or tools outside or other coaches who might be able to assist your growth. So just visit bit.ly/tree.age triage. Okay, let's move on. We're just going to wrap up very quickly with this month coming, Cancer. It's the start of the eclipse season. Eclipse season is where we go through a big upgrade. It's going to be a big shake-up once again. Eclipse season lasts 6 months. So the eclipses that begin in July, there's a solar eclipse coming up. I think it's on the 13th of July. That is the beginning of eclipse season. So when you're going into eclipse season, I highly recommend setting some intentions. I haven't set mine yet, but I've got some examples here of last eclipse season, just to give you an idea of the kinds of intentions you can set. Often what happens is after the eclipse happens, you'll get clarity about what the upgrade is for you. What is the laser focus? What has come into focus, rather, for you as a result of that eclipse? Because an eclipse is the closing of a doorway and it reopens again. So something gets left behind. So some way of operating your business is going to get left behind. Jill.
So this is the rite of passage and this is the death into life, is it?
It could be a rite of passage, yeah. Could see it that way. Whether something actually happens in your business that you consider a rite of passage, I don't know, but it's certainly a rite of passage in astrology.
And also, you know, you're leaving that part when you step through that eclipse zone, you're actually leaving something behind.
Yeah, absolutely. And so sometimes you can't see what that thing is, what you are leaving behind, until it's over. But I highly recommend that you articulate what that is, because that then colours the next 6 months until the eclipse season ends. So all eclipses come in pairs and they are 6 months apart. So what opens now in July will complete in Capricorn, I think it is, next year in January. So yes, Friday the 13th is the solar eclipse coming up, and that eclipse is in solar, obviously sun is in Cancer, the moon, new moon in Cancer as well. So it's an eclipse in Cancer, man. So this is going to be a very personal eclipse, to do with family, home, security, creativity, all of that stuff. That's very pretty much what we talked about today.
And the lunar?
The lunar one's not coming until Leo.
Yes, thank God.
Yeah. So we won't talk about that. Anyway, so your intention, have a feel into what intention you want to set for this cycle. Mine's certainly around really tuning into the current needs of my tribe. There's a lot more work I need to do around that than what I've mentioned today. So that's my focus. Some of the actions I'm taking are finally launching the Sacred Business Birthday giveaway competition, restructuring my services, as I've mentioned. I'm also going to be, as an act of customer care and appreciation, I'm going to set up a birthday gift for my clients who have their birthdays each year, and creating a private Facebook group for the Natural Creators Immersion. This is a way of nurturing the people already who are coming to the immersion in October. So that is a very Cancerian action. Anyone want to ask questions or put theirs in the ring? Whoa, we've gone way over time tonight. Anything final you want to add? All right, well, we'll end on this note, which is partnering. Think about who you want to reach out to in Business by Nature group this month. Have a virtual tea with them, or a real tea if you're in the same place. And I do suggest actually working through the worksheets with them, or at least sharing your cycle intention and actions with them, because this is how you can get a lot of input, feedback, ideas to make the most of this cycle. Cool, Nikki's feeling inspired. Yay! I loved working with you. You've inspired me with a new revenue stream. Cool, that's what we want. Inspiration and ideas. Okay, everyone, thank you for joining the marathon tonight. And thank you for all the great discussion. That's what we wanted. Closeness. We're all nuzzled up together this evening. It was a very different feel, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Cool, cool. All right, well, lots of love to all of you, and my appreciation for you being part of this tribe. It means a lot to me, and I really hope I do show that appreciation for all of you who are, especially the ones who've been around for a long time. I'm looking at 3 of you right now.
It's been a pleasure.
Mine too. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, it's been an awesome, amazing pleasure. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Natalie.
All right, well, I'll see you trees next week. And the rest, bye-bye for now. Have a very loving, nurturing month, everyone.